Welcome to the All the Book Show, episode 249. That's not how I normally say it.
It's not, but I kind of
liked
it.
I'm just going to go with it, yeah.
You jazzed it. I like it.
We talk book news, author news, and literary news. I'm Eric Mickles.
I'm Nick Gunning. You also didn't say that we're the official podcast of the David A. Howe Public Library.
We are the official podcast of the David A. Howe Public Library.
That we are. Yes, we are. How you doing today, man?
Reaching out into the world.
How's your
library?
How's your quarantine life?
Well, it is pretty great with a capital Q. For the quarantine part.
You really threw me for a loop there. Oh, I get it. Q for quarantine. Yeah. Okay.
Q for quarantine, but you're also spelling great with quarantine.
Yeah, well...
That means you're spelling great, Q-U-E-A-T.
The thing is...
T, why not?
We're all in this together. There's no I in quarantine, and I think that's important to remember at these times.
So. All right, Roger Dangerfield.
Yeah, all right. Rodney, I can't believe it. I'm stuck at home. Okay.
Sorry, you said that, and now I'm trying to come up with Rodney
Dangerfield. Do you think the film would the film Ladybugs be accepted today? I say no.
I don't know.
Where he makes Jonathan Brandis dress like a girl to play on an all-girls soccer team.
Yeah,
I don't see that. I don't see that hitting theaters these days. But hey,
when I was working 5 days a week, I wanted to go home. Look, now I'm with my wife every day. Let me go to work.
I get no respect at home. I get no respect. I tell you, I never got any respect.
I think my impression became like Dice, the Dice guy.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah.
Yes, it did get a little dicey there at the end. Yes, it did. Good for you. Well, with apologies to the late great Rodney Dangerfield, let's get this train a moving. Let's open up the old bookmarks.
Roger Dangerfield was very well known as being a train conductor. He'd appreciate it.
You keep saying Roger, and it's Rodney. Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah, but Rodney is long for Roger.
I can't remember. What's the Rodney Dangerfield bit from the movie Aladdin?
I can't believe it. I'm losing to a rug.
That's right. I'm losing to a rug. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's good.
Your Rodney becomes a big Yogi Bear.
Hey, boo-boo.
Yeah. I guess there's a fine line to
Yogi Bear gets no respect like Rodney Dangerfield, but I don't think Yogi Bear really demands the respect. You know what I mean?
He doesn't care. He only wants the picnic basket. He doesn't care about it.
He wants a picnic basket.
Hey, did you watch Scoob yet? Is that in the bookmark?
I didn't watch Scoob, but you know what? Let's roll that bookmark music so we can talk.
Okay.
I did not watch Scoob, but we did watch Velma and Daphne, which we were just talking about.
We did just talk about that.
Literally just talking about it. And we had a good time with it.
So it was good?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was there was no Scooby cameo. I thought there was going to be a Scooby cameo, but no, it's just Velma and Daphne at a very like high-tech school that's run by like a tech mogul, And right away you see that like something is afoot with what's going on here. You dive right in. Velma and Daphne, of course, very different but very close, and it's actually pretty good. It's pretty clever and it's fun. We watched it. We actually were gonna watch Scoob, but it's like $25. This Velma and Daphne was just on Hulu, so watch the whole thing.
Reviews for Scoob are atrocious.
Are they really?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that Scooby-Doo is really something that you think, like, let's update this. Let's make this modern and hip.
Well, they did.
Do you remember when they tried to do this with Hanna-Barbera in, like, I want to say the early 90s? Do you remember, like, Yo Yogi? Do you remember that?
I do remember Yo Yogi.
Oh, my gosh. He's got, like, sunglasses on and thinks everything is rad. And... Yeah. They would air some episodes in 3D, so you had to get like the Yo Yogi 3D glasses out of Kellogg's cereal.
You remember when they updated the Looney Tunes to be like more edgy?
Nobody likes that. So you don't have to do it. Plan to watch Scoob, but so far I say Velma and Daphne's worth your time. And frankly, if they made that into a series, I would watch it. My wife liked it, I liked it, and our 6-year-old liked it.
Sure.
We had a good time. But I want to get right to your bookmark because we have a momentous thing that's happened here. Eric, please, fill us in.
I watched Gilda.
That's not what I meant.
No? Rita Hayworth?
No.
Glenn Ford?
That's not what I meant. Glenn Ford from Superman. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. You did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She got Rita Hayworth to play Machette.
Yeah. Yeah. Was she a famous actor? No, it's in Superman Returns they got like a silver screen era the famous actress to play her, but I don't remember who it was in the old Chris Reeve movie. But no, tell me about the book that you finally finished.
Yes. I just read Age of X-Man.
No. Why? Why are you doing this?
I finished The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss.
Oh my gosh.
5 years in the making for me.
Yeah. We had a different president when you started it. That's how long you've been reading that book.
Gosh, yeah. I started it. I read about the first half of it, which is 500 pages.
Yeah.
And I just put it down, and I never went back to it, ever. This quarantine has put that fire under me to pick it up and finish it, so I did. I gave it 4 stars at first, but then as I sat there thinking about it and reflecting, meditating on it, I brought it down to 3 stars.
Yeah. Maybe this will encourage me to finish a book that I did that with. I read 700 pages of Les Mis by Victor Hugo, and I had another 700 to go. And I hit this point where it was like, I want to say 200 pages on Napoleon's Exile, and I was just like, Vic, I can't. I'm not that into you, and I had to put it away. Yeah. But
you were kind of snotty when you were reading that book, though.
What?
Like, anytime I made fun of you for reading Les Mis, it was like, oh yeah, how's this book that you're reading, stupid face?
I don't remember that, but that sounds right. I don't remember it, but I also don't dispute it.
I was reading the second Hyperion book. I was reading Fall of Hyperion. And I made fun of Les Mis. You know, you were reading Les Mis as the movie was in theaters.
Yeah, well, yes.
You were just very raw. All your nerves were exposed. I shouldn't have been pushing at the time. You lashed out, but it was all reaction. So.
You know...
You were pure id at the time.
If you had a superhero power, it would be to remember every negative thing I've ever done while simultaneously sweeping every positive thing under some rug somewhere.
I don't know.
And God bless you for it, because
I don't know if that's super battle effective.
You are so consistent, and I
only way
gotta
that power is
hats
useful
off to
is
you.
If you're the villain, but you're also very susceptible to guilt, so much so that you just stop fighting in whatever villainy you're doing. So if you're robbing a bank, and I was like, "Hey Nick, remember that time you knocked my soda out of my hand?"
I do remember.
And everybody else laughed.
Oh no.
Yeah. Why don't you put the money back now, Nick?
Okay. All right.
Hey,
so
Nick has never knocked the soda out from my hands.
No.
He did one time knock over I was trying to put together a fire in his backyard at the fireplace, and he knocked everything over. I had spent maybe like 10 minutes putting it all together. He just came over and kicked it all over. So listen to him, though. This is why my power isn't useful in battle. You're just like, that is funny. I'm strengthened.
That's right. Yep. Exactly. It's a scenario where if we were fighting on a team, we couldn't fight each other because our powers completely nullify the other.
Yep.
So
just like Cyclops and Havoc.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So somehow I think my power, reminding you of all the bad stuff, just makes you stronger.
Uh-huh.
So
it seems right.
It's more like I'm Havoc and you're Bishop.
Okay. All right. That's cool.
So that's very specific. I hope
you know what?
got that reference.
In the 90s, I too had a mullet, so that actually checks out.
Yeah,
that really does.
But yeah, so Patrick, the Wise Man's Fear, it's fine, and everybody on Goodreads seems to love it. It's got a 4.57 on whatever that means, but like it doesn't really end. And considering that it doesn't really end after he spends a bunch of time in this like monk-like area, but before that he was in this fairy realm just having sex for 200 pages. It's just like I don't know what the point of the series is anymore. Totally. It every now and then he'll talk to a character. I'm like, yes, the plot. But I don't know. Considering this came out in 2011, so it's taken him 9 years to write book 3. I mean, it's just get over yourself, Patrick.
You did it. But you made it to the end. I don't know if you noticed this, but on the library's Facebook page, which is David A. Howe Public Library, if you're interested, we had asked, hey, what are you reading this weekend? And one of the responses in the last couple of weeks was from Carolyn, who worked with us at the Houghton College Library, said that she was reading that book.
Oh, gasp.
So
that's what I was just
maybe
reading.
She's finished it too. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I hope she likes it better.
Yeah, me too. So you're probably not going to follow this series. That's what we've learned from this.
I mean, hopefully it's only a trilogy, so I've only got one book left to read.
So at the rate you're going, you should be done by about 2035, something like that.
I live to see it all.
Yeah.
I read 6 different X-Men miniseries. They were all 5-issue series that were part of the Age of X-Men, and I've been trying to work my thoughts out. I think I just need to write it down on a blog or something. There's just a lot of weaknesses to this series. It's just not very well thought out. They were really trying to harken back to the Age of Apocalypse big event thing in the 90s, but that thing, even though there's probably parts of it that's like, oh, this doesn't really make sense, every book really had a point of view and was going somewhere, and was only 4 issues, and that doesn't seem like, one issue doesn't seem a lot, but that's 6 extra issues in a however long, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Plus the beginning and end. I don't know. It's just like the concept is that it's a utopia where everybody's a mutant, and some people are realizing something's wrong. And so the character who's doing this, X-Man, Nate Gray, he mind wipes some people to make them forget that they were wondering this. But there's also a group called the Extremists who go around capturing people who break the rules in this utopia. So there's a prison, and the prison people are second guessing this reality. So it's like, well, if he's just mind wiping people, why do you have this prison? If the X-Men are there, why do you have these extremists? If he's doing this, I don't know. It's just not well thought out. So I was let down by it. But having finished that and Matthew Rosenberg's Uncanny X-Men run, I'm basically ready to read House of X, Powers of X.
Okay.
And I don't want to. So, but I'm gonna. It just seems so weird and different with all
that twist at the end.
Yeah, well, with all like the clone bodies and stuff, and the X-Men being really weird and off character. I don't know. Part of me is like, maybe I should read it when it's all done and there's like a sense of finality to it, rather than reading it and trusting whoever the writer. I can't remember. It's somebody dumb. I say that 'cause it's Jonathan Hickman. I haven't really liked a thing by Jonathan Hickman.
People loved his Fantastic Four when it came out several years ago. Do you remember that?
Maybe, but I hated his Avengers.
Okay.
Right now, I'm reading One More Thing: Stories and Other Stories by B.J. Novak.
That was in my books of the decade list.
That's right. It was. Yeah, that's a recommendation of my wife. She handed it to me instead of reading.
What the heck? Are you kidding me? I have been singing the praises of that book for as long as you've been reading Wise Men Fear, and you pick it up and you have the audacity to say it was because your wife told you to?
She did tell me to.
Good for her. I'm glad.
I'm sorry.
I'm glad she has such sway.
I like your recommendation. It's part of the reason I also agreed, but I mean, she did just hand it to me as soon as I finished Wise Men's Fear.
Backpedaling. So has she read it? How she and I never talked about this?
Yeah, she listened to it. She did the audiobook. She gave it 5 stars.
Kendra about. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I've been reading.
Nice.
Criterion Channel
Hit me.
Update.
Let me have it.
I have watched. What did I talk about last time? I'll just say what I watched with my 2-week free trial because it's over today.
Okay. Oh.
I watched Mikey and Nikki with Columbo.
Peter Falk. Yep. We talked about this.
I watched Persona, The Fireman's Ball, The Limey, Godzilla Rides Again, Vampire, The Vanishing, Walkabout, Mothra vs. Godzilla, Brief Encounter, The Last Picture Show, A Night to Remember, Gilda, The Stranger, Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster, Long Day's Journey into Night, which is a Chinese noir dream film, Hard Day's Night, the Beatles film, My Dinner with Andre, and Old Joy. What
did you think of Hard Day's Night?
It was fun.
I like it.
Kendra loved it.
It's fun just to watch them just like hang out and mess around. Did My Dinner with Andre make that episode of Community where Abed acts that out make more sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, they nailed it with that episode of Community. Absolutely.
Before your subscription lags, you got to watch 3 Women with our friend John Davey.
That's right.
He's been on this show and he's been in that movie. So there's a perfect. Where else are you going to find a cross section like that? Nowhere is the answer.
That's true.
All right. Well, I hope that this time around your subscription stays on accidentally as it did last time.
Yeah,
so
I feel like it might
squeeze a little bit more blood out of that stone.
Yeah, maybe they'll realize my email account has already gotten 4 months and 2 extra weeks without me.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
So technically, since it was a gift from my wife, you know what I mean.
2 people.
It's all the same. Yeah,
2 separate people.
Yeah.
I think ethically you're fine.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I finished some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I read this with my son. It's a junior graphic novel by Ben Hatke called Zeta the Space Girl. And I think this is one of the very first things you bought for the library when you started, way back when.
Maybe. We might have had a copy and I just got more of them.
This is actually pretty good. This is one, like I said, my son who just turned 6. Happy birthday, buddy. He's reading a little bit more and he's liking the comic book style. So we picked a couple like this. And so I read it to him, and it really was a lot of fun. It's about a girl and her friend who find a little remote, and they press it, and they end up on another planet. They're separated, and she's got to get her friend back, but the people there are holding him captive because he's meant to fulfill a prophecy that their people have to save this world that they're on. So it was actually really good, and it's part of a series, so we'll probably read the rest of them together, but I like to start.
Space Girl, she's got a couple, and then there's Mighty Jack is his other series.
Yeah.
And then, in September, he crossed them over, and you can read Mighty Jack and Zeta the Space Girl.
Yep.
The crossover of the century.
Yeah.
So
like the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, or the Snyder Cut that's happening now.
Oh yeah.
To curse us all.
Yep.
Until we scream into the nether and we cease to be.
Or kind of like that time when Jessica Fletcher from Murder, She Wrote was on Magnum PI. It's a similar.
Okay, yeah.
Similar
Crazy
vibe.
that her and Columbo never teamed up. To me.
I know. Yeah. She mentions Columbo in one of the books, and I like that little Easter egg. But
it's crazy to me that Nancy Drew was never proven to be the daughter of Jessica Fletcher, or like a grown-up Jessica Fletcher or something. But I guess that wouldn't change her name.
Making some notes for a fan fiction I'm writing.
Yeah.
Okay.
My daughter Nancy's coming to visit me, Mr. Columbo.
I have a daughter named Nancy too. Anyway. Speaking of Marvel, I read
the Hardy Boys can be related to Columbo.
Yeah, that's perfect. My nephews. One more thing.
Yeah.
I read the big Marvel event, Fear Itself.
Yeah.
You know,
it's funny because you were like, I'm not going to read Siege, but I will read Fear Itself, which is a crap story.
Listen, I didn't read Siege because I could not bear to go back any farther than the place that I was at. I only read Fear Itself because every single series that I'm reading
is a Fear Itself.
Crosses over, like has multiple issues in Fear Itself, and it's like a situation where
Fear Itself is trash.
Like with the Red Hulk, for example, some really crucial stuff happens in there, so I had to read it. I didn't particularly like it, but I got through it. Another thing that I'm really not liking, and I gotta say, for the most part, I'm very much enjoying the Marvel Unlimited app. I'm having a good time with it.
Woo!
But New Avengers by Brian Michael Bendis is terrible.
The New Avengers...
New Avengers is
the post-heroic or the...
Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and their baby are like running the Avengers with Ms. Marvel and The Thing and Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. Seems like it should be good. I want to say that it is 60% about Luke and Jessica raising their child.
Yeah.
40% is just...
God,
off the wall
so
dialogue
about Bendis sometimes.
It's really I've been liking the main Avengers story, which is written by Brian Michael Bendis, and I'm also liking Secret Avengers, but New Avengers is not worth my time. I finished the Enterprise book that I was reading, Star Trek Enterprise book called By the Book by Dean Wesley Smith and Catherine Rush. This was a lot of fun.
What does a Scott Bakula impression even sound like?
I don't know. I can't do one. Kindly.
Okay.
I don't know.
Go back to the review then.
This just reads like a fun episode, and it is 50%. The main crew is going down on a planet doing a first contact with two species that are on the same planet who don't communicate. And of course, wackiness ensues. Sure. And the other half is the lower level crew doing a tabletop role-playing game. It's just a lot of fun. I liked it a lot. And it's one that we're doing for a book club with my buddies, and I think we're going to have a good time talking about it. I think that's the best Enterprise book that I've read out of the only of the three that I have ever read. I'm currently reading Theft by Finding by David Sedaris. So my love of David Sedaris is well documented on this podcast.
Yeah, I'm surprised you even have more to read.
Yeah, this is a collection of diary entries ranging from, I want to say 1970.
You can't read his diary.
I know, 1977 to 2002, and that's part of the reason why I never picked it up, was because it's just diary entries. You know, it's not full essays or anything like that. But it's on Libby, and so I'm listening to the audiobook read by him, and it's perfect. And in retrospect, I feel like I would go back and put this in my books to read during quarantine. Because
you can talk about it here.
Well, because it's just, you don't have to sit down and give it a bunch of time. And in the intro, he's like, please don't sit down and read this as you would a novel. Like, just read little sections and then walk away from it. So it's been perfect while I'm like hanging the clothes up or like, loading the dishwasher or something, to just listen to a little bit of it, because sometimes it will be a pretty extended story, and other times it'll just be like 1 or 2 lines. Like one is just, January 3rd, 1982, I ran into a little girl with her mom, and the little girl looked at her mom and said, I hate that man. And that's it. Like that's the only it's the only entry for that day. And it's just it's delightful. So,
right.
if you really want to read David Sedaris, I would say probably Me Talk Pretty One Day, or maybe even more, I would say Dress Your Family in Corduroy and Denim. Those are probably better starting places than this, but I'm having a good time with it.
All right.
I'm reading a book that I learned about on this podcast called The Book of Longings by Sue Monk Kidd. Do you remember talking about this?
I don't remember this.
This is it was on the bestseller list. I guess we'll see if it's still there. But this is the book about the girl who is married to Jesus.
Okay.
And I love it. I don't know. It's great. It's really captivating. I was intrigued by it when you read the synopsis, and so I looked it up and like read a little sample, and I was like, this is fascinating. So I got me a copy, and I've been pounding through it right now. And I want to get through it quickly too, because I also have the Hunger Games prequel that I am anxious to read and have had heard.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
Look, I know.
Looks like big books got to you.
They did. I loved that series. I loved that series long before there were movies. And the thing is, I mentioned this last week, I don't need a villain origin story, but I've heard some positive reviews from people who I would normally expect to be skeptical about this kind of thing, so that encourages me to think it will be good. But right now I'm reading the Book of Longings, and I'm having a good time with that. And finally, I'm reading X-Men Schism. We'll see how that goes.
Why are you reading Schism? What is it?
I don't know.
Because you want to read Avengers versus X-Men?
Well, I was coming up on Avengers versus X-Men, but I'm to the point like in the timeline where Schism was happening. So I reached out to known Marvel expert Eric Mickles and said,
you would read Schism, and then you would read who's the Jason Aaron's Wolverine in the X-Men series, which lasted 8 volumes.
Yeah.
And then there's an Uncanny X-Men of Cyclops Utopia team, which actually had some pretty fun Sinister stuff in there.
I don't think I have that on my list. I'm gonna have to add that. All right, so I'm reading Schism.
I loved Wolverine and the X-Men, that Jason Aaron series. It was so fun, but
I remember reading the first volume because you bought it for my wife for Christmas, and so I read her copy of it. But that was forever ago when it first came out, and I haven't read any more. So I've only read the first 4 issues of that. So I
have no memory of buying that.
You did?
What a nice little gift that was.
So thoughtful of you. It's almost her birthday. A lot of quarantine birthdays here in the Gunning household. Making things difficult. So
yeah, I'm not holding out hopes for my August birthday.
Yeah,
so
we'll see how it goes. I've been watching some cool stuff. Okay.
How much you have to pay me to go see a movie theater in this year in 2020?
$2,500.
Wait, 2,500 or 25,000?
$2,500. 2,500 smackaroos.
No.
And free concessions.
Free concessions?
Yeah, free concessions in the
concessions are what I'm going to stay away from.
Oh.
Excuse me, stranger. Just hand me a whole bag of buttery popcorn
so
I can stick my hand in there.
You can get pre-wrapped stuff. You can get milk duds or whatever. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was my final offer, and you left that cash on the table. Let me tell you about some of the stuff that I've been watching. I think I've mentioned this before, but Dead to Me on Netflix with Christina Applegate and Linda Cardellini.
Good thing, because the second season just started.
I know.
The trailer spoiled the first season.
I know, it does. Yeah, we were not finished with the first season yet, and that trailer started, and I was like, just threw a brick at my TV, and then it stopped. But
sure.
We're in season 2, and it is there's so many turns in that show where you just think like, oh wow, okay, but that's a lot of fun. Also stumbled upon a weird one. It's a Norwegian show called Ragnarok. We've watched the first 2 episodes with subtitles, and it's pretty cool. We're pretty into it. It's interesting. I described it to a friend of mine when I was trying to recommend it as if like Acorn TV and Smallville had a love child. I feel like it would be this Ragnarok show, because it's kind of like a low-key, like moody mystery, but also some people have superpowers. So
speaking of Acorn TV,
yes.
that was my mom's Mother's Day gift this year.
Oh, okay.
We got her a subscription to Acorn TV.
And is she enjoying it? What's she like?
I think so. I think she's watching Doc Martin.
Doc Martin. Okay.
Yeah.
I've not seen Doc Martin.
What do you do right now during quarantine?
Acorn TV. Acorn TV is the way to go. That's why we have Netflix. We haven't had Netflix since, like, getting discs was the hip thing to do. But with this, we were like, okay, let's sign up for some Netflix. And so we have.
Yeah.
So it's basically
I know, you watched the first 2 seasons of Stranger Things on DVD.
I did. Checked out from the David A. Howe Public Library. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. We were watching that with my brother every week, season 3. And now we started watching The Dark Crystal, whatever, the Age of Resistance, Age of whatever it is. We were watching The Dark Crystal with my brother every week.
Okay.
I'll tell you one thing that I am excited about, and this is more news. So why we can transition to book news, even though this is more TV news. But they have finally officially greenlit that they're doing a Pike on the Enterprise series for CBS All Access. Yeah.
Okay. So like, I wanted to complain on Twitter about them doing another prequel Star Trek series, but then I realized I didn't care.
No, I don't think they care at all. And technically, it's a sequel to Discovery. So I mean, really. You know, that makes it okay. Yeah. No, I know you stopped watching Star Trek Discovery the first time I stopped watching Star Trek Discovery, right? So you've seen like the first 6 episodes. I think his portrayal of Pike, Anson Mount is the actor's name, also played Black Bolt in the Inhumans. Probably other things he wants me to mention, but I don't remember him. I think that Pike would win you over, and I'm very excited about this TV series with him. Rebecca Romijn as number 1, and Ethan Peck as Spock. Star Trek Strange New World. It's supposed to be more optimistic and more episodic, and I'm all in. Yeah, the Rebecca Romijn thing is a pretty good sell for me. She's good. She's fun in it. She does a nice job, because that character from the original Star Trek pilot, The Cage, is very like business and cold, and she does a good job. So I'm definitely looking forward to that series. I would take that over more Picard 1,000 times over. Snap. Anything else you want to share book news wise, or do we get right to the bestseller list? The Nebula Awards are coming out, so next time we're going to be talking about the Nebula Awards. But right now, the winners. Shall we look at some New York Times bestsellers? Yeah, number 10, American Dirt by. This is the hardcover and ebook fiction combined. Good thinking. American Dirt by Janine Cummings. The bookseller flees Mexico for the United States with her son while pursued by the head of a drug cartel. Number 9, Big Summer by Jennifer Weiner. Just ordered a copy of that for the library. Daphne Berg's former best friend asked her to be the maid of honor at her wedding in Cape Cod. Aw. You know what's difficult, Eric? Keeping up with ordering like hip new things at the library when we don't have any people to interact with, and we're just like doing it in a cold vacuum. Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. Number 8, The Last Trial by Scott Turo. An 85-year-old defense lawyer puts off his retirement to aid a Nobel Prize winner in medicine who is accused of insider trading, fraud, and murder. I had a lovely conversation with Scott Turo at the ALA conference a few years back, and he signed my copy. This was in Chicago several years back. Yeah, the Prince and Me. Yep, The Prince and I. The King and I. King and I. I saw Rodgers and Hammerstein's The King and I saw Aladdin. King and I was great. Aladdin was a dumpster fire. Yeah. I hated it. Number 7, Normal People by Sally Rooney. If you add friends for Jasmine and Aladdin, you have lost your premise and your reason for them to get together. Anyway, number 7. The connection between a high school star athlete and a loner ebbs and flows when they go to Trinity College in Dublin. Oh. Number 6, The 20th Victim, the 20th book in the Women's Murder Club series. Lindsay Boxer looks into the murders of destructible persons in 3 separate series by James Patterson and Maxine Pietro. Number 4, Walk the Wire by David Baldacci, the 6th book in the Memory Man series. Decker and Jameson investigate a murder in North Dakota town with a fracking boom. Number 4, If It Bleeds by Stephen King. There are 4 novellas in here. Number 3, Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. An artist upends a quiet town outside of Cleveland. Number 2 is... Have you watched that? Sorry, have you watched Little Fires Everywhere yet? No. Is that one you intend to or no? No. Okay. I do want to. Okay. But I haven't seen it yet. I love that book. It's a good book. Okay. Where the Crawdads Sing by Neely Owens. Quiet town in the North Carolina coast in 1969. A young woman who survived alone in the marsh becomes a murder suspect. Number 1, Camino Wins by John Grisham. The line between fact and fiction becomes blurred when an author of thrillers is found dead after a hurricane hits
Camino Island.
I just need to buckle down. I just need to like shell out the dough to buy this book because I really want to read it, and I don't know when I'm going to get my hands on a library copy.
Sure.
All right.
That was it. That was number 1.
That's it. Okay, are you ready for the third part?
That's the best.
The third part of our quarantine recommendation series. Are you ready for it?
I've been ready since February.
What third part of a series was your favorite? Can you think of any trilogies where number 3 is the best?
Return of the King was one for a long, long time, and now I just love them all.
Okay. What about Return of the Mac? Was that the third of anything?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know if it was if anything, it's probably just the sequel.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, part 3 of something that I read. So, Return of the King was pretty fantastic.
I wouldn't say that Back to the Future 3 is my favorite of the trilogies, but it does deliver. Darn it.
There we go.
Darn it, does it deliver. You know?
Last Crusade is my favorite of the Indiana Jones movies.
That's a solid choice. I understand that.
And I just had it, and now I lost it. Oh, well.
You know what? I'm in the minority here.
I was going to say Revenge of the Sith, but it's also the 6th movie.
Sure.
in some ways.
Well,
so.
Return of the Jedi is my favorite of the original Star Wars trilogy, so don't at me. But Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, is my favorite of those movies. I really like what it does. And, boy, it's neck and neck. Original, like Star Trek reboot, J.J. Abrams, is that better than Star Trek Beyond? What do you think?
Star Trek Beyond is probably the best one.
I kind of think it is, yeah.
They just get to have fun. I mean, the first one's very, very good, but the third one, I don't know. It's real good.
I think with the first one, there's a lot of things that you have to be like, but he's a cadet. Why would they make him a captain? Or what was Nero doing for 25 years in between when he showed up and then came back to kill everybody? That one has a lot of things where you just have to be like, okay, I still love it. But Beyond doesn't have that problem, though. It's just fun from start to finish. Darn it. Let's watch that movie right now.
I saw Bourne Ultimatum twice in theaters, so that was a good time.
All right. Yeah. All right. I can't think of it. No, I mean, nobody likes X-Men: The Last Stand. Oh, what about Logan? If you look about the Wolverine,
just the Wolverine movies,
Wolverine
Logan
trilogy
gets the count. So
all right, okay,
yeah. Superhero trilogies tend not to do so well. So it's usually it's weirdly the second one that's been better in these past decade or so.
Look, I'll defend Superman 3. Anybody who wants to fight me about Superman 3, I'll defend that movie because they did something totally different with it. And yeah, it doesn't always work, okay? But it's a good time. But
what I'm not a huge fan of is the second movie not really having much to do with the first movie, but then the third movie having everything to do with either the first or the second movie.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, I don't know. So like, what am I don't know.
You can't think what you're thinking of? You can't make a comparison there?
No, I guess I can't. I guess I don't have a good example.
I
think about The Dark Knight.
Is that really true? Because I thought you were doing a thing about the J.J. Abrams Star Wars movies.
Oh, no. I was thinking of like Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, okay.
And how it's like, remember Ra's al Ghul? But like the second movie didn't care about Ra's al Ghul.
Didn't care at all, no.
Because they can't really do much. They can't do anything about the Joker.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway. Or the Matrix movies.
Boy, I saw those sequels in theaters. I could not. I remember there was an orgy, and the Oracle was a different lady, and they were like, "You're different now." Those are the two things I remember.
I saw Matrix Revolutions midnight showing. It did not live up to that.
Okay.
Bummer.
Well, that is a long way around to introduce our topic for today, and that is
trilogies.
No, but I would do that episode if you want to do that episode. We're talking about TV shows. TV shows to binge while in quarantine. This was a tough one for Eric to do, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you doing it.
I just haven't been watching TV like my wife has been.
Yeah,
but I haven't. Like, I just kind of live my day like a ghost, and then nighttime comes around, and I watch something on the Criterion Channel, and then I go to sleep.
Well, I got to tell you, full disclosure, not everything on my list are things that I have binged over this time.
Oh yeah, same.
Just things that I think are suited for this time that I've already seen. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we should start with the one that was on both of our lists, and
that was on both of our lists.
We did Parks and Recreation.
Oh, we both did Parks and Rec.
Yes, we did, which aired on NBC from 2009 to 2015, and just recently had a one-off special. It's available for streaming on Hulu and Netflix. I loved this show
as well. Yeah,
I loved this show pretty much start to finish. I thought it really was one of the more optimistic shows on TV. I mean, it came in the heels of The Office and took a season to sort of make its own mark. But I think once it did, it was a show that just made me happy every single week. You know? When it was on, I just loved watching it. All the characters pleased me. I liked their relationships.
Crazy to think that at one time, NBC Thursday was The Office, Parks and Rec, Community, and 30 Rock.
30 Rock, I know.
And yet, not great ratings for
I know.
3 of those shows.
I know, yeah. People
don't know how to reward good behavior.
No, they don't. So definitely, I think you have to have. I broke mine into genres here, and I think you have to have a sitcom to just be watching slowly. But we've been watching a lot of the CBS sitcoms, like Man with a Plan, that just got canceled. But I feel like Parks and Rec, because of its optimism and because of just the joy that it brings, that's why I picked it. Why was it on your list, Eric?
Well, I think it's a bit more traditional of the 2 sitcoms I picked. Mm-hmm. I think it's more consistent than something like 30 Rock, but it's very funny. It does one of the things I like in sitcoms, where you feel like there is actual character progression and change.
Definitely.
Whereas, most sitcoms, they're always the same. Every episode that just resets. Yeah. Parks and Rec has character growth and everything, and I like that. And also, it's just nice to remember, I don't know. It's a positive view of government workers pre-2016.
That's true.
So
yeah,
in an outdoor capacity. Mm-hmm. Who could imagine?
I think it's perfect. All right, give me another one on your list.
All right, I'll do the other sitcom I have on my list, which is Community.
Yay!
Which is on Hulu, but it is moved over to Netflix now.
Yep.
So if you've never watched Community, now's the time to do it. It's one of the most creative and hilarious shows. My favorite sitcom of all time. Mm-hmm. And my favorite show of all time. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be the same show at the end and in season 6 that it was in season 1. Yeah. In some ways, in just terms of cast.
Yeah.
But it's very funny, and again, it's one of those shows where the characters kind of evolve as the show goes as well.
Yeah, it's interesting that Community was able to make some of those transitions. So this show ran from 2009 to 2015. First 5 seasons on NBC, then it moved over to
First 5 seasons Yahoo. On NBC, and then to Yahoo.
But I thought that was one that it was hard for me to transition into the 6th season, because it is tonally it's a big change. And when I started it the first time, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know about this. And then we sort of circled back around and restarted that season, and I ended up loving it. Yeah. And I think what really speaks to the creativity of those writers and those actors is that by the end, even though it was a very different show, with what's set up in the final episode, I thought, yeah, I would watch this show. If they made essentially a spin-off with the, just 2 or 3 of the main characters and continued on, I would absolutely watch that show. And there is precedent for that. If you think about the golden age of television, you had the Andy Griffith Show, and when Andy Griffith decided he wanted to leave that show, they brought in a new lead and changed the name to Mayberry RFD, and it ran for another 5 or 6 years. Same with All in the Family. When they wanted to continue just Carol O'Connor, they made Archie Bunker's Place and just continued on with 1 or 2 of the primary characters. If Community had done that, I would have stuck around for it.
Yeah. Well, wasn't up to everybody. Yeah. It was they basically killed Yahoo. Yeah. They ended up costing Yahoo TV all their budget. Yeah. So.
Yep. Would you say it's the creativity, the cleverness of it that keeps you coming back? Why you would say?
Yeah, I mean, I like the concept episodes a bit. There's but then I also just really like they're just hanging out in class. The 5th season had some hilarious. Every time I watch it, there's a new episode. I'm like, oh, that one is really good. So yes, the creativity is there, but I think it's just, the cast is just a killer cast. Mm-hmm. They got Donald Glover before he was too famous to know any better, and then he ended up leaving in season 5. But and then rewatching it a couple of times, you kind of forget how off to the side the Dean is in the first season.
Yeah.
And then he starts showing up more, and he just kills me every episode. He's just so funny. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
I wonder if you'll agree with me on this, but I've always felt like Community in a lot of ways is sort of a spiritual successor to news radio.
Maybe.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Because I feel like news radio had a similar sort of... I mean, I
think it's more like Night Court.
Really? News radio had a similar sort of a vibe. I mean, it's even like characters around a table a lot of the times. But they would also do crazy concept episodes. Like News radio had an episode that was just set on the Titanic, or just set in the future or whatever. And they would do that kind of thing, and they would just throw crazy, unexpected things at you. So in my head, I kind of think of those two shows as being, in some ways, cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
I mean, also, there's a lot of Simpsons DNA in both Parks and Rec and Community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I picked a procedural because I think you gotta have like a cop show in the mix. I think so. The one that I really would put on my list here would be Law and Order: Criminal Intent, which ran from 2001 to 2011. Started on NBC, moved over to USA towards the end. Jeff Goldblum comes on the show, and it's just great. I love Jeff Goldblum on that show, but. This, a lot of ways, the main character of this pulls a lot from Columbo, like has a similar vibe to Columbo, and I feel like was clearly an inspiration for that character. But this show and all Law and Order shows are like impossible to watch. It's not streaming. I have some of the DVDs because I got some actually right at Music Alley in Wellsville, but we've been watching Law and Order: Criminal Intent. But because it's so hard to find, I'm going to give you an alternate suggestion here, and that's CSI Miami. So CSI Miami ran on CBS from 2002 to 2012. It's on CBS All Access, and it's on Hulu. It was always my favorite of the CSI shows. I think the mysteries are good. I think the cast is fun, and I think it's a good show to just sort of put on, watch a few episodes while you have pizza. That's it for me. What do you got? Give me a genre. What's your genre choice?
My genre choice?
Yeah.
Well, I'm picking the entire DC animated universe,
okay.
Which I guess you can do with the DC app.
A lot of it's on DC Universe, yeah, and of course you can buy seasons on DVD or on Google or Vudu, but...
Yeah, I've got it all on DVD, so however you get it, but...
Here are the facts I have for you, Eric. The DC Animated Universe aired on Fox, the WB, and Cartoon Network, with episodes airing from 1992 to 2006, encompassing the shows Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, The Zeta Project, Static Shock, Justice League, and Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah, I mean, starting from Batman and just going all the way to Justice League Unlimited, you will be rewarded because Justice League Unlimited really starts to pull from both Batman and Superman's the cartoon series, and also some Batman Beyond stuff in there as well. So I think in one episode also you see Static Shock from those old cartoons. So I feel like it's hard to recommend this if you're not interested, because if you are, you've probably seen it. But if you've just been putting it off, if you're younger or older, for me, it's my definitive DC universe in so many ways. Anytime I see a character, anytime I see Brainiac and he's just not the DC universe, animated universe Brainiac, I'm like, well, I don't have any time for this. Yeah.
All right, well, sticking with the genre suggestions for a minute, and this is another one where I've got two because one's kind of hard to find. So first, I'm going to say Star Trek Discovery, and we talked about this a little bit at the top of the show already, but even though it takes some time to sort of find its sea legs, I really feel like it's just serialized enough that it's compelling to like watch the next episode, watch the next episode, watch the next episode. And it does some cool and some pretty unique things in there that I think even if you're not a Star Trek fan going back and this was like your first Star Trek, I think you'd be fine. I think you'd be fine sitting down with Star Trek Discovery. So we have this in our collection at the library. I know we have it on DVD. It's also on CBS All Access, but outside of that, that's really no other option. So I'm going to give you an alternate suggestion, and that is Smallville, which ran on the WB and CW from 2001 to 2011. This is all on Hulu. I know that because we watch it with our friend Kendra remotely every single week. And right now we're on our rewatch. We're just finished season 8, moving into season 9. And then I think that I like about the show is that I don't really think you have to be a comic book fan to get into the show, because especially in the start, it feels more like cut from the cloth of like a teen soap than a superhero show. but I think it actually makes the transition into being a more like deeply rooted action-based superhero show better than you'd think it would. And by the time you get to the late seasons, it's really like a spin-off of itself by the time you get to like, season 7 or so. Pretty crazy. But I think Smallville's a lot of fun. And if you're a fan...
but your stinking Smallville show kept certain characters off my DC Animated Universe show.
Well, like Superman Returns, for example, made it so that they couldn't do any romance between Lois and Clark. Like,
Look,
that was the rule anyway.
For picking Smallville, but when we at the library, somebody had donated the first 5 seasons of Smallville to us, and this is like 2018 or something, and all these other DC, there's no shortage of superhero things like there were in, what was it, 2000, 2001?
Yeah.
When did it air?
2001.
2001, which was like we had just had X-Men 1. We didn't even have this first Spider-Man movie. So
it was right on the heels of Lois and Clark. There was like maybe 1 to 2 years in between Lois and Clark stopping in this.
But in 2018, somebody donated the first 5 seasons on DVD to the library. We put them in the collection, and they did not stop. I had to buy the next 5 seasons. Yep. I had to finish the collection because people were checking them out in droves. It was crazy.
Well, I think now with all the CW shows, and it's crazy that Smallville never had a spin-off, or that these, I guess they sort of retroactively connected it through the Crisis on Infinite Earths episodes, but. A lot of things that are done in the current CW shows, I watch it and I see people be like, "Oh, that's so great," and I think Smallville did it first. It was on Smallville first, So, I think you're gonna have a good time with Smallville. So, and there's 10 seasons, So I mean, there's plenty to binge in that.
Yeah, that's true. And they had like full seasons too.
They did. Yep.
Like this is still like 22 something episodes a season.
The only real short season is season 7, and that was the writer's strike year.
Writer's strike.
Yep.
And so.
Yep. All right. What else you got, buddy?
Okay. I guess the best place to find this stuff is Netflix right now, but you can also just find it anywhere, YouTube or whatnot. Mystery Science Theater, which I'm surprised didn't make your list.
Here's why. Here's why it didn't. Because I feel like Mystery Science Theater, you need a minimum of 4 people to watch Mystery Science Theater.
Maybe.
I think the jokes are much funnier when you have a group sitting there watching it. And so, like, just for my wife and I to sit down and watch Mystery Science Theater, I don't really see it happening. If you want to watch Mystery Science Theater over Skype, you let me know. We'll set it up.
I find it to be very much like comfort food.
Yeah.
So I have watched it with just me and Kendra before, or even just by myself. Yeah. Sometimes I've been doing other stuff, and I just throw on Warrior of the Lost World.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Or something else. And he's Warrior of the Lost World. It's just so funny. And I think it's because, like, I get what you're saying. Like, you want more people there to laugh and stuff. Because the humor can be so esoteric. Like, a lot of the humor is so esoteric and dated, even for when it was on in the 90s. It's like, who is that they're talking about?
Yeah.
So, like, it helps having other people be like, that means this.
I think, too, it's one of the rare shows that, like, gets better the more that you watch it. Too. You know what I mean? Something like some of the ones that I've seen the most would be like Final Sacrifice or Hobgoblins or Mitchell, and like especially Mitchell. The first time I watched it, I was sort of like, yeah, that was okay. That was funny. It's kind of slows down. Every time I've watched it since then, I've just laughed harder and harder and harder. And it's Mystery Science Theater is just endlessly quotable too. If you're not familiar with what it is, give them a little explain what it is.
Well, see, that's why I was gonna say I find it okay to watch by myself, because it's a human and 2 robots just watching bad movies and joking about them.
Yeah.
So it kind of, all in its own way, makes you feel like you're just in the room as well. Yeah. But no, I totally get like a watch party mentality for it. So that can be harder. But if you're also like craving some companionship, the way the show works, both when they're watching the movie and when they're doing the little skits, it kind of includes the viewer in some ways. Almost like how, it's like an adult version of like those Nickelodeon shows where they're like, do you know where? Yeah.
Do you see the watering can anywhere?
Yep.
You do?
Yeah.
Yep. I hear you.
But yeah, I mean, there's like, what, 200 episodes?
Something like that. It started as a local like public access show on KTMA, went to Comedy Central, was on Sci-Fi, and ultimately Netflix. Episodes airing from 1988 to 2019, and a theatrical film. This Island Earth, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah, we used to rent that from Blockbuster on VHS and watch it when I was a kid.
Last time I checked, Netflix had like 20 episodes on it. And
plus the new season, plus the current season.
Plus the new 2 seasons, yeah. But you can find Mystery Science Theater has its own YouTube page. There's also a Mystery Science Theater streaming thing, which probably isn't totally legal, but you can find like all the episodes there to watch. So it's good.
And we have quite a few episodes in our collection, so whenever the library reopens, come check it out.
Yeah. So it's a show, but they're movies. So you're actually killing 2 birds with 1 stone there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So be the envy of all your post-quarantine friends when you tell them you've watched Manos, Hands of Faith.
For my next, I've got an Old Faithful on here. So this is when I had surgery several years back and was just stuck at home on the couch for a long time. So kind of like now, only I'm more mobile now. And I watched probably 5 or 6 seasons of ER, the classic NBC show, airing from 1994 to 2009. I think ER very much deserves its reputation. It was like the most watched show when it was on. Everybody loved it. Everybody was talking about it. The kind of surprises that they were able to pull off, you would never be able to do now. There's an episode where George Clooney's character comes back out of nowhere. And at the time, NBC didn't even know. Like, they didn't even know that it was happening until it aired on TV. And they were like, what? George Clooney's on this show? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, ER manages to transition its cast. So by the end, you don't have any of the original characters there anymore. But they're able to transition so smoothly that even though you're losing characters that you like, you don't feel like a real, this is the cutoff point. And I think that one is very marathonable and definitely worth the watch if you haven't seen it. You can watch that on Hulu. I have all the DVDs because I'm a nerd, but ER is definitely worth your time if you haven't seen it. Have you seen any ER?
No.
Okay.
I can't. Doctor procedurals are
too much.
Because then there's gonna be like, okay, I just got to stick my hand into this guy's kidney and slice open. I can't.
Sticking their hands in kidneys?
I don't know how kidneys work.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. So I got one more. Well, you got one more too, I think, right?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Listen, I don't know how you can watch this anymore because I can't find it. You have to find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest, I don't even know, I can't even remember when it came out, the I Love the ... VH1 series.
Yeah. Started on the BBC. BBC did 3 episodes in 2000, and then VH1 took it over. And the most recent episode was 2014.
Okay. The first one was the I Love the 80s, and then they did the I Love the 80s Strike Back, and at the time they did it, I Love the 90s. We were like 4 years past the 90s. Yeah. It felt so stupid. But they also did the I Love the 70s. And so, like, if you just want absolute sugar pop culture junk food right now at this time, each series was only 10 episodes, an episode a decade, and it was just a whole bunch of, like, comedians and low-grade celebrities.
Yeah, very low.
Talking about events during the 80s, and 70s, and 90s, and then they would redo them. And, like, at the time, like, I was addicted. I watched the whole I Love the 80s thing all the way through. And
this was one of those things. This takes me back to, like, when, like, channel surfing was a thing, because never could I flip through the channels and land on one of those shows and not stop and watch it.
Right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you just have to. Yep.
Yeah. And it's weird. This shows you how, like, messed up we are as, like, a species. I'm weirdly nostalgic for the nostalgic show I Love the 80s right now. Like, I'm nostalgic for the show that is a nostalgic show about these decades. Yeah. And it'd be nice to rewatch the I Love the 90s now that we're 20 years past it, as opposed to, 4 years by. So, I just think, like, I'm surprised they're not, like, airing those right now. Like, boy, 2020 sucks. Remember the 80s? I love the, bring that stuff. I remember then VH1 did that, and then they turned it into a series called I Love Last Week or something about last week. Last week was, and so, like, they would just talk about all the dumb pop culture stuff that happened in that week.
Isn't that just the soup?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
But anyways, I Love the 80s was a fun time, and then if you keep looking at that, so I think really you have to just find it on YouTube now, but I assume some people have made playlists of it. At least that's where I found a few episodes.
Yeah, it's probably there. All right, my last pick, this was a hard one. This was hard for me because I felt like in this you need sort of high drama, you need something a little soapy. And there's a lot of ideas on what this could be.
Wait, you need something more drama and soapy than ER and Smallville?
Yeah. Yes. And so there are 3 that I was going back and forth. And so I'm going to give you in this order. So first, I mean, speaking of loving the 90s, I got to say Beverly Hills 90210 because that show hooked me like as a child when I was 9, being like, Dylan, what's going to happen? You know, that ran for 10 seasons on Fox. It's on Hulu and CBS now. But I honestly think maybe that's not even quite as like out there, like drama-wise, as I feel like you need right now. So I think another good option would be Grey's Anatomy, which started in 2005 and continues to this point. But I'm not going to put that one on the list because it's open-ended. First of all, it's not over. It's got 15 seasons plus 2 spin-off series. So there's just so much of it that I understand why that would be daunting. So I'm going to say Desperate Housewives, which ran on ABC from 2004 to 2012. It is available on Hulu. I just think the show's a lot of fun. I think it's clever. It's well written. The actresses, I think, all just like nail their parts. And that was one that my wife and I both, I mean, we just like stuck with that right to the end and had a great time with it. And I think it's perfect for this moment in time to just sit down and watch Terry Hatcher trip over things and stuff. I love it. I love it. You had a big response to Desperate Housewives, and you're not a fan.
I'm just not a fan of like that kind of drama.
Okay.
That kind of like domestic drama kind of stuff.
Do you want to watch Melrose Place?
Do I want to watch Melrose Place? No, thank you.
Okay, thanks for considering.
You know, I always thought Melrose Place was like a mansion that Heather Locklear owned, and people would hang out there, and she was Melrose, and that was Melrose's place. I didn't realize it was just an apartment complex,
more of a dynasty situation.
Young adults live.
You know what's funny? Melrose Place in its first season. I do a Beverly Hills 90210 podcast, as people may or may not know. 90210, here we go. And we were just covering some of the Melrose Place stuff. And what's funny is that Melrose Place was a spin-off of 90210, which was hugely popular. And Melrose Place was not popular in its start. And so it was really failing and not doing well. So they bring in Heather Locklear, who is like known for big nighttime soaps, to come in. She is, it says special guest star Heather Locklear. And then she stays with the show throughout the run of the show and is billed as a special guest star for like 250 episodes. But Heather Locklear was like the thing that shored up and saved Melrose Place.
Right.
But Melrose Place is way over the top. It's like ridiculously over the top. So I wouldn't recommend that for this either. So I think Desperate Housewives is the one that I'm going to settle on.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh boy.
I don't know. If I had to pick a procedural, I guess I would go with Elementary.
Oh, okay.
One of the few that I've sat down and watched a whole bunch of.
Is that over?
It is over. Okay. Yeah.
And
what was it? Was it CBS?
Yeah, it was CBS.
I don't know. It was good. I mean, it's performance-based. So, you know, it's a procedural, but the two characters are fun together.
So, I mean, that's a Sherlock Holmes show. Do they play Holmes and Watson?
Yeah. Yeah, he plays Sherlock Holmes. Lucy Liu plays Watson.
But it's like modern day.
It's just modern day. They play around with the lore a bit. It's not just like the American version of Sherlock. Okay. It's very much its own beast.
Okay.
So,
interesting. Yeah, that's one. I don't think I would have been super interested in watching that, but you always talk about it when this kind of things come up. So that makes me a little more curious to see it.
It depends on how you feel about like the super detective genre.
Yeah.
That like Monk repopularized?
Yeah, probably.
So,
probably. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, I haven't thought of Monk in a long time. That was also a good show.
Mm-hmm.
I did watch Monk start to finish, but I never finished Psych. Did you?
No, I never watched Psych.
Oh, never watched it at all. Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. My wife has a much like darker taste than I. She was suggesting Breaking Bad.
Oh, okay.
Which I think is 4 seasons, but then you also have the Better Call Saul like prequel series right now that everybody seems to be absolutely in love with. She suggested Lost. And she's thinking about rewatching it, so you know, bear with me because if she rewatches Lost, I'm in quarantine. I don't know what's going to happen.
That's a hard time. I know she's probably listening to this podcast right now, screaming like, "I will defend Lost!" But Lost and Battlestar Galactica, for me, the ends just cut off the knees of the great early seasons.
I think you can find things to like about the ends of Battlestar if you really want to, but it is very unsatisfying.
If you really want to.
The last 2 seasons are harder to watch than
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Well, this was an interesting, diverse list. Yours, I mean, I expected Community, but I think that was the only one on your list that I was prepared for.
Oh, so.
All right. Well, hope you can check out any or all of these shows that we've recommended. We'll try to put these lists up on Twitter and all that. Next week is episode 250, Eric. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
250 weeks.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
You think we should just, like, throw an outdoor party, invite all our friends, and
no,
have everybody get real close and everything?
No, pick up a newspaper. Don't do that.
What?
Don't do that.
All right. Next episode, parties to throw while you're in quarantine.
Stop it. All right. Well, I mean, I think we did it. I think that's going to do it for this episode of the All the Book Show. You ready?
We should do the best 250 books of all time.
Yes. But we each have to do a list.
So 500 books.
Yeah, 250 each,
total.
I think.
250 each. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Can I count all 50 plus books of the Animorph series?
That's got to be one.
Oh boy, this is gonna be rough.
But do name them all.
Do name them. All right. So when I say number 2 is the Animorph series, starting with and then just okay.
Yep. I want that episode to go from sunrise to sunset. So should be good. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, join us next week for the 250th episode of the All the Book Show. Eric, so long, my friend.
Bye.
Wait, should I have been recording that? Was that a rough go?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That was the real go.
That was it? That was the final thing? Yeah. Okay, and you wore that? Ooh, okay.